Well, welcome everybody. This is Kim Evans. Welcome to Inspired Conversations podcast with Kim Evans. And I am so elated. I'm going to use the word elated today to be here again with a very special guest who kicked it off for me when I first started doing my podcast, Miss Kelly Armstrong. I'm so glad that you are back, my dear.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we're going to do a part two of this podcast show. We had interviewed Kelly last month, and I'm so proud of Kelly because Kelly decided to be a podcaster. And so on this show, we're going to do a part two with 30 days of her experience being a brand new podcaster and what she has found to be very helpful, what she's loved, how you can probably be inspired to be a podcaster. So let's listen to her journey as she has evolved in 30 days. And I'm so excited. Miss Kelly, I'm so excited that you're here. You know how we do. I always like to open up my podcast with a quick prayer. I hope that's okay. So God, I just want to thank you. I want to give you honor and praise.
That's fine.
Thank you for just being omnipotent. So Lord, I just thank you for being here with us today. We're going to honor you. We're going to honor your presence. We're going to honor your grace for just being omnipotent God of this world. Lord, we want to just thank you so much for blessing Kelly and blessing her voice and blessing her talent. We're so glad that she's here today and been a very beautiful mentor to me. We want to bless our podcasters, our listeners, as far as the East, as far as the West, as far as the North, and as far as the South. May they be transformed, inspired, and motivated. And may they pick up some nuggets today that can actually change their life. God, thank you. Miss Kelly, wow. I'm going to read just a little bit about your title. We won't get into your background because we did that on the first podcast. But may I share a little bit about who you are in case we have new podcast viewers? Is that okay?
Absolutely. Take it away.
So Miss Kelly Armstrong actually is a personal development and fashion brand image consultant at San Francisco City College. I met Kelly actually about maybe 7 or 8 years ago. And I actually would come to Kelly's image consulting class and I would do coaching and mentoring. And actually I would teach to her class. So that's how I met Kelly. And through the years, me and Kelly has become very good friends. And Kelly has also served as my mentor. And let me also add that Kelly now is a podcaster of her brand new show called Straight Talking with Kelly, where all the conversations happen. So Miss Kelly Armstrong, take it away.
Yes. First off, I want to say thank you, Kim. It's because of you that I am podcasting. I remember those phone calls when you were like, you know what, Kelly, you would be a great podcaster. And I'm like, girl, you are tripping. And you said, well, let me interview you on my first show for January.
Yes.
And when we were doing the interview, I was like, oh my God, you know what? I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
And little did I know, and I wasn't expecting it, that I was also going to be coached. And I'm going to tell you something. Had you not suggested that I get a coach, I would not have done this. But having you as my coach has made it so much fun because I felt like I couldn't go wrong. There was no way I was going to go wrong because I knew I had support behind me.
Yeah. So Kelly,
so here I am up to, let's see, by the end of this month, I will have 12 podcasts under my belt right now.
See, that's, to your credit, I always tell people the first thing in transformation, especially when I'm coaching my clients, just say yes. Make the decision to say yes, and then the universe will do the rest. Well, actually to support you and give you everything that you need. And I'm so proud of you for taking that step after talking to you about it for a very long time. You finally said, okay, ding, 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 ding. The light went on and says, I think I need to try this. What has been your most glorious or happiest moment in these last 30 days in terms of you podcasting? What would you say?
For me, actually reaching out to the person that I wanted to interview, doing a background check and research to figure out the questions I wanted to ask them. That to me, that's my favorite part, believe it or not,
Right.
really formulating the questions. And then thirdly, I think once the podcast happens, it's just a real friendly banter back and forth. It's just a conversation. This is why I say where real conversations happen. Because that's exactly what we're doing. Just two people having a conversation. And then when they finish, they're just like, oh my God, Kelly, this was so much fun. I want to do it again. So I'm like, yes.
Really
so
nice
this was definitely.
Go ahead.
Well, I just think just to your a compliment for you is that I think you saw that talent in me and you knew how to bring it out. You know how to bring it out because your guidance, I'm going to tell you something. I remember I was like, oh, this is a lot of work. It looks easy. We're sitting here and it looks like fun, but the behind the scenes is no joke.
It's a lot behind the scenes.
No joke. But the simple fact that I would get check-in calls from you, you would listen to every single show. I was just like, you know what? This gave me confidence to keep it going. And so I still have a lot to learn, but I'm even okay with that. I don't worry about that.
Absolutely.
It's like, you know what? I learn as I go.
And I think that, that's why I recommend anyone, either you just a professional know how to do it. Most folks don't, or you get some leading guidance and you get a coach to coach you along the way. And one of the things that I believe in and that I try to, what we have done is that I knew there would be some very, very hard road for you ahead. And I didn't want you to have to go through those hard things that I went through. So I wanted to shorten that learning curve really, really fast for you to make it very clear to hear and understand where you were and where you were going through to help you navigate through those problems very quickly. And that's really what a mindset coach will do for you. And I think that helped you to stay on course and it helped you to stay motivated and it helped you to continue to say yes, because you could have given up and you didn't.
No. There was no way I was giving up. I'm in too deep. In too deep, and I got people calling me asking me can they be on the show, and I'm thinking it's like
I love that.
It's incredible. It's really, really incredible. I have a list of people that I can do a podcast for the rest of the year. Actually, I haven't
really. We're going to hold that for just one quick moment because people are going to say, well, how do you get people on your show? Okay, so we're going to pause with that because I have a magic answer for that, because Kelly just somewhat answered that. If you have to have, first of all, you have to have a mission. What is your mission for really holding your show or being as a podcaster? If you have a mission and you have a vision and you carry that out and you're very clear about that, the show will sell itself. You don't really have to sell. You don't have to knock on the door waiting for people who want to be on your show.
Absolutely.
They're going to gravitate automatic to you, because you're living your truth. And that is the whole point of podcasting, is living your truth and being able to share with the world and the internet information, education that can be able to transform, transpire, uplift, motivate, and educate people like Dr. Cohen. That show right there. Oh my gosh. Oh God, we got so much to talk about. But my God, Kelly, real quick, which have been your favorite shows? That one right there, I have to light a fire. I'm going to sit down and really, because I already saw part of it. And it's like, wait a second. She's saying too much information about this COVID. This is some powerful information that this lady is talking about. I really want to give her all my undivided attention. So far, which of your 10 shows?
Dr. Cohen was good. Favorite? Well, you know what? There was a time when I used to make I still do sometimes, but I make baby clothes. And baby blankets, and every single blanket that I made, I would say, this is my favorite blanket.
Okay. All right.
So I ended up naming my company My Favorite Blanket. Okay. So you asked me, which is my favorite podcast.
Okay.
Every single one of them.
What is your favorite? Okay.
Every single one of them. But the one that touched my heart, there's one that touched my heart deeply.
Fine. No, just kidding.
And that was the one with my granddaughter.
Yeah. That one. Oh my God. Okay, you guys got to go back and listen to her granddaughter, because not only she has eloquent of speech and it's her essence, and she's so positive.
Yeah.
And she just like speaks with such high confidence, eloquence. Oh my gosh. What was
Yeah.
the title of that show, Kelly?
What do we call that? That was the one off the top of my head, it was like the importance of having a support group.
Yes, yes. And she
Having a
talked about her
support because
family. Totally.
kids on COVID
Okay.
with
Yeah.
having to do Zoom online and
Right.
school like that. And in the beginning, she found it very tough until she started reaching out to her friends,
Right.
talking to her grandparents, talking to her parents, really communicating. Because at first she would just kind of lock up in her room.
Right.
And she was like, Grandma, I was about to go crazy. I needed to get out. So yeah, so
Right.
hers touched me the most, but all of my podcasts, each and every one of them have their own significance. And so,
what would you say?
what I actually feel my podcast does, I really feel like I'm documenting history.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Absolutely.
Especially with some of my upcoming guests, my next one, I can't wait for you to meet her, Jacqueline Harrison. I actually call her, she's a musician, and she is the keeper of the Negro spirituals.
Wow.
It's because she has a anyways, that's a whole nother story. I don't want to
what
share it until I do it.
What would you say, Kelly, in your journey of this? What has been your greatest strength? What would you say?
My greatest strength?
What would you say in this journey of podcasting? How has it made you a better person? What would you say? Two things
it's actually made my listening skills. I listen more.
Okay. Well, that's a strength.
I listen more to what people have to say. And as I'm listening, I'm really listening to be able to pull more out of them, to get them to open up even more. So that has helped me. And it makes me observe more. I pay attention, like when I'm taking a walk out, I pay attention to the details in somebody's house. I'm just more, it's making me focus more focused, more detail oriented.
Okay. And what would you say has been a weakness? Give me two things that you have found that you have, well, not a weakness in your character, but what would you say, two things that you had to overcome real quickly in podcasting that were challenges? Just list like two challenges that you've had, not the weakness, but challenges in podcasts, because we all gonna have challenges until we really learn this. Because I have a few too. What would you have said? What would you share with the viewers? Has been maybe two challenges and you were able to overcome in your podcasting?
Yeah, I think for me, it's more the back end stuff. Well, I remember when we first got started, I remember you saying, make sure that you're always prepared, that you have everything right by you, what you need. And I've done that. But there was a time on one of my podcasts, girl, the paper fell on the floor and I needed it. So I bent down and picked it up. And you know what? And I was okay with it. And he was like, are you going to cut it? And I said, no. I said, and the reason why I'm not going to cut it is because this is real life. This really happens. You drop stuff.
You drop stuff. I drop my pen all the time, so I have two. You might drop your notebook.
Well, see, but girl, I had dropped my notes. So I needed my notes. So I was just like, so there's a part of me was like, oh my God, do I pick it up? What do I do? And I just said, you know what? You're human. Pick it up. Yeah, so I picked it up.
You bend over.
And I didn't apologize for it or anything. I just went back to what it was. And that made me feel good because it worked out just fine. And I think my biggest challenges it's just, I don't really have big challenges, come to think of it. I really don't. I think because you check in with me so much.
Kelly,
you know what I mean? Right, because you check in with me, you're constantly giving me tips, and you up front tell me what some of the issues are, what some of the glicks can be. So I kind of had that awareness already because of the way you've coached me. And so I really feel happy that I can actually say that again.
And so that's another important.
I mean, it's definitely having a good coach really makes a difference.
Totally. And again, that's
can't think about it. So it's not just
Go ahead.
Well, I just think that the phone calls, the emails, and then, we'll actually do a quick Zoom session just to kind of check in and see how I'm doing with it. Especially in the very beginning, you were really close. And then I think when you felt that I had a handle on it, you were able to step away. Because remember when you said, okay, I need you to make a template of step by step what you need to do, so you don't have to keep asking me how you do this, right? And Absolutely. So following that, and just, it goes like clockwork. So I'm able to do it, get it done, and I'm always looking for the next.
In the beginning, when Kelly first started her journey, one of the things I said to her, I said to make actually a mind map. Back when we were in college, we always did these notes and they were called mind mapping. Techie use it all the time. So I said, make a mind map. So every time we learned a different part of the system of podcasting, I said, write it down. And then once we completed the system, I said, now it's time to mind map. And so if you mind map it, then you can always use that template and like, okay, how do I actually complete my calendar, and what are the questions I should put on it? And then when do I start the broadcast? When do I end the broadcast? What should I say? So the point is, in a nutshell, is that Kelly actually created her own mind map. And so I encourage people, if they're doing podcasts, create a mind map, then you understand, and you can always go back to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, your template on what you need to do in case you get lost, right? And so it takes the overwhelm out. And what I was trying to do is cut out that overwhelm, or to cut it down as much as we could, so that she could enjoy it and not get caught up in how do I do this and how do I do that. And that's one of the beautiful things when you are actually have someone to help to assist you. Now, let me just do a segue. They do have coaching programs out there, programs that you can purchase, how to create your own podcast. But there's no live human element or human being that go with that. So who are you going to pick up the phone and call? Right? You don't have anybody. So that's the difference when you're buying these $99 podcast programs, or opposed to, hey, I'm going to hire a coach and I'm going to stream this thing and I'm going to get in and I'm going to do it and I'm in it to win it. That is the difference.
Yeah. So and it really makes it's worth every penny, because when I think about the phone calls, when I think about the emails, and then when I think about, I remember one podcast I didn't think was so well, and you called and go, girl, I just looked at that podcast. It was fantastic. And I'm thinking, it was? And so it gave me a whole, because you know how we can be our worst critic. We can be really hard on ourselves. And so I said, okay, if Kim thinks this is good, then it's good, because I know you're not going to just say that to me, because I know you're not just trying to make me feel good. That I do know. I know that it's honest. And so from there, it just allows me to be free. One of the things that I also remember that I thought was really important is, in the beginning, I did feel a little overwhelmed. And you said, if you're feeling overwhelmed, you need to stop. Because this is supposed to be fun. I want you to be having fun. And I was like, okay, she's right. So, because I get into that control anal mode of mine, type A, got to have it perfect. And then it's like, no, you don't. You really don't. You're doing this for fun. So make it fun. And that's why with all of my guests, they feel very comfortable. It's really a great interaction, and there's just no stress behind it. So I appreciated that tip, because that's a valuable tip, especially for somebody that's high strung.
And it shouldn't be cumbersome. I mean, we're not the Gales and Oprahs of the world. This is not Fox News. This is a podcast. And one of the beautiful things on how I shared and taught Kelly is that most podcasts are audible. They're actually all audible. But the way that we do it is that you see a visual and you also do an audio, which makes it a double bang. So you don't have to create your podcast on a visual. It's just wonderful, because you have people who learn by listening, you have people who learn by visuals, people who learn by writing, and it's just, if you can do it that way, why not? So I have a trade secret on how I teach people on how to do that, but it's your choice if you want to do it. How has doing visuals pretty much made your whole podcast that much more livelier? How do you like doing it this way, this process?
You know what? I actually like the visual more than I do the audio because I'm a visual person. You know, I'm an image consultant for heaven's sake. So I like to see. I like to see
Well,
people.
absolutely.
And it's fun.
Hmm.
It's fun. I like that because, you know, you get a chance to,
Yeah.
even though you're not eye to eye, but it seems like, because I'm looking at you right now, straight in your eyes, and it
Okay.
feels, yes, and it
Because
feels
this is
great.
how we engage as human beings, and
Yeah,
it's beautiful when you can put a face to a
very
voice,
social.
or you could be really social engaging. So it just really heightens the audible. And then also if someone, hey, I really like what Kelly said, and I want to download her speaker, and it's like, okay, I'm going running. Okay, I didn't get a chance to see the whole thing visually, but I can listen to the rest of it while I'm in my car driving. So
Yes,
it gives you
absolutely.
options. And
Yeah.
pretty soon we're going to be on airplanes, trains, and automobiles here in a minute. So if you're on an airplane, hey, I can download Katie offline and I can still hear her podcast. So it makes it really, really nice. So what have you, when you look back on the process, what have you enjoyed the most about the process from A to Z?
Well, most importantly, the end product,
Yeah. Okay.
you know, being
Okay.
able to post
Okay.
the podcast, post it
Yeah.
on all the different social media platforms,
Yeah.
you know, because it's like done. You
Yeah.
know, like I said, I'm working on number 10
10
and 11 right
and
now. So
11.
it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, so that it just really feels good. And so even though I'm working on 10 and 11, I already have 12, 13, and 14. I have them in line. So
Yes.
they're there.
That's nice.
It's just the process. And one of the things that I appreciate about you too is that you were like, okay, don't overwhelm yourself, find your rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so in the beginning, you see I'm gung ho, or I got 10 of them already up. But
Mm-hmm.
now I'm pacing myself because I do teach and I do have other things going on,
Right.
but I do want to continue doing the podcast. So just really getting a little bit more realistic with time, because it takes time
It does take
to
time.
actually do one interview. You know,
Absolutely.
you do the research on the person, it's just a lot that you need to do to
It
prepare
can. Yeah, it can
for that.
be. It can
Now,
be.
one of the things that I've had people do, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not the one, girl. People call me, oh, Kelly, show me how you do that podcast.
Oh.
No, I
Mm.
cannot do that because number one, that's not my lane. I know how to stay in my lane. It is entirely too much. I'm still learning, and there's just no way I could even think about teaching someone else how to do that. So I definitely will be referring people to you as they are asking me to do it, because I know that that's not my strong suit. And I know that it is
Absolutely.
yours.
Absolutely. And it's taken a lot of your time too, Kelly. So,
Yes.
I would just I'm getting ready to create a podcast course, the e-course, which is ABCs, very, very general. And so I would just recommend, number one, ask a person, viewers, as you're listening, why do you want to have a podcast? What is the
Mm-hmm.
reasoning? What is the vision behind why? Do you have a business? Do you want to grow it? Are you a coach? Are you a consultant? And Kelly is all that. And I have a brick and mortar business. And I knew that this would give me another avenue of more exposure, bringing people to me. But also, I wanted to educate. I wanted to really bring women together, mind, body, soul, and spirit, and talk about beauty, health, and wellness and travel around the world. I wanted to be able to take my 24 years as a business owner, soon to turn 25, so that I can give that information as a holistic wellness coach and also as a business coach. And I did one today with Rick Silva. It was beautiful, on marketing, to where that I can engage you, I can entertain you, I can entice you, but I can educate you on things that can help you to grow your business. So you have to have a vision behind it. Kelly has a vision behind why she's doing this. She has a
Yes.
vision behind why she's doing it. So let me quickly just tap on energy drainers and vampires. So one of the things that I mentioned to Kelly very early on is that people always going to want to critique you. People always going to want to have to say something. So for podcasters out there, listen very carefully to this nugget and be careful who you take advice to, because people may always say, hey, you know what, I have something to share, or you know what, hey, I have something to say. And unless I ask you for your opinion, I really don't need it. So Kelly, let me ask you about that. I'm sure that it's really interesting. Once you start doing something, then people tend to have something to say about what you're doing, but they've never said anything that you need to start doing this. They never
Right.
brought it up. So
Yeah.
I'm just curious, have you had maybe, a conversation, or maybe have you experienced that where people really are very freely want to give an opinion about what you're doing when you're doing this? And I think it's
Yes.
really important because I don't want people to be deterred. I don't want you to be kind of like feeling like, oh my God, somebody said that I shouldn't be doing this. And then now all of a sudden you're allowing fear to take place. That's why I'm saying this in the open, because I don't want you to retract back. I want you to stay forward. So how would you speak to that, Kelly? Have you experienced that?
I've actually had it. And one of the things that it made me laugh when I got a couple of phone calls where people were like, I want to give you some constructive criticism on your podcast, unsolicited, mind you. And I'm thinking, okay. And I just, I was like, you know what? Not right now. We'll have to talk at another time, because one of the things that I know is that I have a coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually told that person, I said, you know what? I have a coach. And it's really funny because the feedback that I've gotten from her is that I'm doing okay.
Great.
And I feel that I'm doing okay. So I don't really let outside influences really influence me, because I'm my own person, number one.
Great.
I know how to think for myself, and I know my strengths, and I know my weaknesses, and I know when I've done something where I'm completely pleased with, and I know when I've actually know that it can be better.
Absolutely.
I've actually had one podcast that I actually rescheduled and redid it over.
Absolutely.
So I don't necessarily, I know people mean well, but like you said, what are you doing? Do you have a podcast?
Exactly.
How you go?
Take advice from people who are doing what you want to do. So if they're not doing what you're doing already, and they don't have a million viewers, they really don't have nothing to say. What they gonna tell you?
Exactly. Well, but people want to feel like
always got something to say.
That they got a little something to do. But
the other thing, critical mass is really important. When you're actually a brand new podcaster, I told Kelly, I said, hey, you want to reach critical mass, and that is your first 25 shows. And there's a reason for that, 25, 30 shows. And she's like, oh, but you can do it. You can do it, because Kelly is halfway there. I'll be there next week. So the reason why you want critical mass is because it keeps you in the alignment. It keeps you synergy. It keeps that spirit going. It keeps that energy. It keeps the flow, and it keeps you focused. It's like, hey, once you reach the critical mass 25, then you could kind of taper down and say, okay, I'm going to do 2 shows a month. But you've reached that critical mass. And I'll give another quick example. It's kind of sort of like when you get on an airplane, and then the captain is like, has to break through the clouds. And then he says you have to put on the seatbelt, and it starts to get a little shaky. And you feel like, oh my God. And you start praying, and you start, oh my God, who do I need to just forgive? Because you think the airplane is going to crash, but it's not. But the captain is saying no, because we have to go through the clouds. It has to reach a certain level of elevation. Now, once it breaks through the clouds, then it's like you get that announcement. All right, everybody can roam along on the plane now, and you can take your seatbelt off. And it's like, wow. And then now it's easy sailing on the airplane, right? Mm-hmm. And then you're going to descend again. And then now you got to go back through the clouds. And you're going to descend down, and then he's going to tell you to put that seatbelt back on. So it's that same thing. We're going to go through a process. It's going to be cyclical. But when you have somebody who can guide you through that, it makes it that much more easier.
Big difference.
Kelly, get to the 25 podcasts as quick as you can, of course, with quality. And then you can pull back, and you'll be able to say, hey, find your rhythm.
Yeah. I'm getting there. And like I said, I have them lined up. I have some incredible guests coming that I'm really, really excited about. So
yes. So
from all different types of industries.
Real quickly, how are you finding your guests, or how are your guests finding you?
Well, believe it or not, I have a network of people.
Yes, you do, Kelly. Yes, you do. Yes. Just open up your book.
Yeah, I have a network of people that most people would die for. So I'm talking in every industry.
Yes.
So for me, it's just a matter of just picking up the phone and calling them. And when I call them and ask them, they're just like, oh, okay. They're excited. And so the possibilities and the people that I can reach out to are endless.
I love it.
That's why when people are calling me, asking me, well, Kelly, I know who could be on your show. And I know, and I'm thinking, I said, you know what? I'll keep that in mind. But right now I have a list of people that I need to go through first that are important to me.
Absolutely.
And so, and most every single person that I have and I will be interviewing are people that I've had relationships with.
Yes, totally. And
So,
isn't
and
it
that's
so
what makes it
nice,
even
Kelly,
better.
when you pick up that phone and ask them to be a guest, they're like, yes, yes,
Yes.
yes. Like the young
They do.
lady who you were in the airport and you did that interview. I believe she was your second guest, your second.
Uh-huh, that was Sheila Moody. She's a
That was Sheila
journalist.
Moody.
Yes.
Yes, totally. That was an
Yes.
excellent, excellent, excellent
And
podcast.
Sheila and I did some incredible work together. As a matter of fact, my next guest, when I do the musician Jacqueline Harrison, I had actually nominated her for the Jefferson Award and she won. And then I called Sheila. Sheila was working at the Chronicle. I said, you know what? We need to do a story on her. It was front page on the Chronicle newspaper. So it's like
I love the fact that
magic. It was magic.
it's like with 6 degrees of separation. You mentioned that you have all of your guests lined up all the way through December, and I would believe you. So right now, I'm sure you have all your guests for April, May, June. You'll filter more of them in, but it's really beautiful to know that Kelly, that hey, you already have an alignment of people that are going to be on your guest list, on your podcast list. So that has to be nice. Did you hear the last part? Because you froze a little bit. You back?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Great. So let's
Yes.
also get into platforms. And I think that's your next phase of where you're going to grow. And that's the other part of why I was telling Kelly to reach critical mass, because what happens, the algorithms will pick it up in the interest of net. And so now my podcast we started on Speaker. And then now we grew to Apple Podcasts, which is huge. That was the big guns that I needed to get on, because once you get on Apple Podcasts, and you have to apply to get on there, all the other ones are easy. And so now we're on Spotify. I literally fainted when I got my email on Spotify. So our podcast is on Spotify, Google Podcast, um, Amazon Audible, which goes out to 55 million listeners, 55 million, and VMO and YouTube video. So as you become really excited into your podcasting, you can also partner with other podcast platforms, because the more you partner with podcast platforms, the more your information is pushed out in the interest of net. So Kelly, what is your next one that you would like to partner with? You're on Speaker now, and you're soon to be on Spotify.
Right. I'm on Spotify.
On Spotify.
And I do YouTube for sure.
You should be on Google Podcasts now.
And I am on that, but you know what? I don't always click it though. I have not signed up for all of them yet. And even like with Facebook, I actually just put mine on Facebook, but I remember you're like, girl, you don't have to do that. Just click the button.
Yeah, just click them all. And so here's the deal. There's different types of podcasts medium that you start with. Like we're on Speaker. So you'll pick the type of podcast medium that you like. And then they will send it out to other podcast companies. And so the one that I really love is Speaker, because that's all you need is Speaker, and Speaker will do the rest on all the other ones.
For you. Yeah.
And it's just wonderful. So every time you do a podcast, you just click it at the bottom to shoot it out towards all the other companies. Yeah. And so that's where Kelly is now in growing her podcast medium. I'm so proud to see what you're going to select next.
Yeah.
And the more you select,
it's been fun.
The further that it's out. Yeah. So
I can't wait to get to 25. I'm working there. I'm going to get there for sure, and sooner than later for sure.
Totally.
Yeah.
So any last tips that you would like to share with the viewers on maybe how to get started? Let's talk about monetization, because people always want to know, well, how can you make money from this? So Kelly, how do you feel how you can make money being a podcaster? And then I'm going to sum it up on how you can.
I know that it's based on how many people are listening. And that part I really haven't paid that much attention to, Kim. That's the next part of my growth, because I remember you were like, you need to pay attention to your monetization on
Yeah.
Spreaker, because you probably already got some money that you
Yeah.
don't even know you have.
Yeah.
And I have not even looked at that yet.
So I think for
I'm
Kelly, it's
excited.
good that she's enjoying the process. And again,
Yeah.
this is why it's great to have a coach, because I'm like,
Yes.
okay, it'll be a time, that's your next course that I'm going to have to teach you on monetization. And monetization is really wonderful because it could come on a lot of different levels. I won't speak on every single one of them, but the main one is advertisement. As you know, most podcasts, you're going to hear an advertisement in the beginning, in the middle, and the end. You have the control of not having them if you don't want. But if you want them in there, you get paid to have them in there. So at the end of the month, you do get a royalty check for those ads playing in your podcast, depending upon how you set it up. I'll just leave it at that. Number two, how you monetize is that people will again to be attracted to you, and they'll say, hey, I want you to be on my podcast, and you go on their podcast, and then now you're getting viewers. And if you're selling programs and coachings and widgets and products and things like that, that's how you get sales. That's another way to monetize. The other way is that you have venture partners, and they may say, hey, can I advertise inside your podcast? And you charge them a fee. So it goes on and on and on and on, and it scales up from that. But podcasting could lead to a lot of new business opportunities for you. It's just the exposure, and it allows you to be a credible brand expert in your genre, just like Kelly.
Absolutely.
Just like,
Yeah.
and that's huge right there. Because you have people saying, hey, I heard your podcast. I found out about you because I was jogging and I'm listening to this podcast on YouTube. Can you come and speak at so-and-so? Can you present a course on so-and-so? My director would like to talk with you about this. So you see the unlimited opportunities, Kelly, how it could lend for you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So I know we've talked about that. So I know that's the next part of the journey.
Yeah.
So
Great.
I think one of the things that I would actually say to people is that, I know how we spend money. We spend money on, I guess, the things that we really like.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're really trying to get a career going, you really have to spend money in order to make money.
Yeah.
So, I have always believed in investing in whatever it takes to get me to that next level.
Absolutely.
So I know that I would not have done a podcast show without a coach. There's just no way. I can guarantee you that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
And the simple fact that I have one now, and I look at where I'm at, I got 10 people already under my belt, and then I still have a list of people to come. And I know, and I see the future. I see it getting bigger and bigger. And it's just like, oh my God, I would not have done this without having the assistance of someone really guiding me through the process. So I really am so fortunate that our connection happened in this way.
Yeah.
Because it has made a big difference. I wake up with a smile on my face and I go to bed with a smile like, okay, who's going to be my next guest? And then, okay, what's going to be the angle of this guest? What's important right now? Like when we did the COVID with Dr. Cohen, it's like, you know what? I want people to really know that what the vaccine is all about, and to have someone to help demystify it for them.
Mm-hmm.
And, she did that. Anyways, that's the kind of stuff that makes me excited.
So it's a deeper, greater level and exposure of networking. Just like Rick was talking about, building up your power, referral-based networks. And it's so beautiful with those 10 people. Just like when I did my first one that I was doing it on, I've had great guests too, myself on my podcast. I can call any one of them up. And now we have a network.
Yes.
I did Linnell Bevels yesterday, and she's a mortgage consultant. And guaranteed, if I have someone who, hey, is looking for a home and they need a loan, it's like, call Linnell Bevels. So, we got Greg Young, who does insurance, if you need a policy. So, it's like you build up your network, and you have people that you can refer, that you like and know, and you know that they're credible with what their works that they do. And it's so wonderful. And then you have that. And I think that's the other side of the podcasting, is building the network. like
Yeah.
we would normally do if we were going to chamber meetings and we was out and about, but we're doing it virtually. It gives you that kind of personal network exposure of really getting to meet and know people.
Girl, people have called me the networking queen for I don't know how long. And you know what? And the real truth is
I
that but
know.
I don't do it on purpose. People
Mhm.
gravitate to me, you
Uh-huh.
know?
You're just natural, your natural essence, Kelly.
Exactly. It's just a gift that I was given. And so I know how to use it though. I think that's the beauty of it. I know how to use it. And
Yeah.
like the one that I did on Casey Newberger, who is the VP over at Hotel Nico.
Oh God.
Now remember
That one there, you're doing a part 2 on that one. We're not gonna get into it because we're gonna have your viewers go and listen to it, but you all
Yes.
gotta listen to that one with Casey. Oh my good. I said, you know, before I ended, I'm calling, I'm like texting Kelly, you got to do a part 2. Woo! Some of the things that he dropped some nuggets with that. I'm like, no, expand.
So that's what I'm saying. So some really good people,
Oh.
some really incredible people. And when I think about so many people matter of fact, I was talking to one of my girlfriends the other day on the phone, and she was telling me something. The things that she's doing now. I was like, oh my God, girl, you know, you get ready to be a podcast guest. And she started laughing. She started laughing. She's like, what do you mean? She says, you're doing a podcast? And I said, yes. I said, so I will be calling you.
Don't they just blow?
And she says, well, you know what, Kelly, just let me know anything you know, however you want, I'll be there. But she's going to be incredible because she's, you know, a grant writer. And how many people want to learn how to do that?
Did you say grant writer? Okay, you need to have her Monday.
So I'm just excited about the possibilities.
Absolutely. So Kelly, let's look at my last question to you. Let's go 6 months. Give me, what does your podcast business look like 6 months from now? And then tell me, what do you think your podcast vision looks like 1 year from now? Let's go 6 months. That's this year. That's going to roll real fast.
I know it's going really fast. And when I think about that, I just can't even imagine how many people I'll have under my belt.
Not with numbers.
Well, I'm just talking about the guests, the number of guests that I would have had by then. And I know by that time, I'll definitely have the sponsorship. I'll have.
Oh my God. Did she just say sponsorship? She thinking big. She says sponsorship. Oh, go ahead on and put endorsements in there too then. Put endorsements.
Yes, I will definitely have that. Okay. And then I know I really believe that I'm actually going to get to a point where people are going to be calling me, asking can they be on the show. And I'm actually looking out to have more celebrity types on the show, more high profile political people, just people that will be able to share wisdom and to really help elevate people. Because I just know that, especially people of color, I'm really about that. I've always have been, and I'm not ashamed of it. And I just know that I have the influence to help make that kind of stuff happen. So I really think that, you know, I could be the next Oprah as far as I'm concerned, girl. The Oprah podcast.
Sure you can, totally.
The Oprah podcast. So I just know that the future lies ahead. It's big, and I'm not afraid to think big and watch what happens.
Okay,
I'm excited.
I can say my job is done. Now we're talking. She just said think big. That's where I want you to stay. That's where I want you to be and stay there. So give us a glimpse of 1 year. Give us 12 months. Where do you see your vision of as a podcaster in 12 months?
Wow.
Think big. Just go real big. Just go to the top.
Well, if you can get top Oprah, then I don't know how much bigger I can get. I just said I was ready to be the next Oprah, but in the podcast industry.
I love it.
I just can't imagine topping that.
So
you know what I mean?
So what would that, okay, all right, well, let's do this. What would that feel like? Not necessarily topping Oprah, because the universe has the lane specifically.
Well, it's not to top her, but it's just to actually be comparable.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
Yeah. Because Oprah's my girl. I'm not trying to top her. No.
Totally.
She's made it possible. She's made it possible for me to even want to
be there
that way.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So what would that feel like in 1 year, you reaching a goal to where you're breaking really heights and you have all sorts of, you know, political ambassadors that are just bringing just top quality? What would that feel like to you, Kelly, in 1 year in your podcast business, what would that feel like? What would that energy feel like?
You know what? For me, I'm going to tell you something. I've had so many wonderful successes in my life.
Okay.
And when I get like that, the first thing I want to do is give back.
Okay. Okay.
so
Okay.
so
Okay.
I would probably be in some high school somewhere,
Yes.
being able to inspire the younger people, because one of the things that I always believe is passing the torch.
Yes.
So to be able to pass something down to help bring somebody else up. So that to me is where the real success comes from.
Oh, I love it, love it, love it, love it. I think that's beautiful. I think for me in 1 year, I think when the borders open up and then we're able to actually touch and feel and go back into the world. I've always had a vision of speaking around the world to women solo entrepreneurs and just really uplifting and motivating. So my vision has always been to be in Europe. And so, and also connecting in Jamaica and connecting over in Africa, and to be able to bring women from around the world to uplift them when it comes to beauty, health, wealth, and wealth.
Okay.
So totally. So yeah, I'm glad we have big vision, and it's good to have big vision and to stick with big vision and to hold that, because definitely we can have that. So Kelly, I am so proud of you. I look so forward to what your next 30 days is going to look like, your next 6 months, and your next 12 months.
Yes, me too.
Yes. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to see what next month is going to bring me.
I can't wait either. So Kelly, real quick, when is your next guest? When should people tune in? What is your next guest that you're having on your podcast show?
When is my next guest coming? You know what? I don't have my calendar in front of me. I would say in the next week or so. In the next week or so.
Next week.
But you know what? Right now, I have a new podcast that I just posted last night.
Okay.
With Carlos Stanfield, the former manager of Tony.
Okay.
So that's up right now, so people can look at that, where we're actually talking about our love for R&B music.
Oh, that should be especially from Tony. Oh my God, I know that is going to be nice. Where can people find your podcast, real quickly? Where can people find your podcast?
You see, okay, so here's one of my weaknesses, because you always told me to make sure I have that down, and it's like, do I have my thing down? I don't know where they can find me. They can find me on VMO.com, Straight Talking with Kelly.
So
where real conversations happen. But I Kelly, do not know.
No, when you're posting your podcasts, you're posting them on YouTube.
I post them on YouTube, and you know, that's the other thing. I'm gonna tell you something. As long as I've been going on YouTube, I think YouTube has me as Kelly Armstrong Primed and Prepped.
Okay, we need to fact find what that is, because that's your URL that you tell people to go to find your podcast.
Right, and that's that. So there's something that I need help with. Okay,
we're gonna work on that. For right now, you go to her Facebook page, which is what's your Facebook page, Kelly?
Kelly K. Armstrong.
Kelly K. Armstrong. That's where you will find her on Facebook. And then from there, she will tell you how
on Facebook. And you know what? You won't see my face.
That's okay. That's fine. And then the second one, how people can find you, Kelly, is
you know what? The next time when I come back, after we do when I hit 25, we'll come back and I'll know this stuff a little bit better. Okay.
It's like, hey, it's
one thing at a time. But when you're looking on Facebook for me, you won't see my face. Okay. You'll see a hand-painted pillow that I did of Michael Jackson and Prince. That's the face that I use.
Okay. And then the second place where people can find you is on
that, then you know it's me.
Is on Instagram. And your Instagram handle is?
Kelly K's Corner.
Okay. What is it again, Kelly? KK Corner?
Kelly K's Corner.
I know. That is so interesting how a lot of people don't know their Instagram URL. It is so
you know what? I don't. And matter of fact, when you had asked me on Facebook when you said put your YouTube URL, and I'm like, I don't know what it is. I'll have to work on that.
I gotta work on that.
So see, guys, I'm not perfect. And it's okay.
That. You gotta know that. Someone says, Kim, what is your Instagram?
Indeed, I will.
/KME coaching. Nutrition Over 40, or Too Gorgeous Wellness. You got to know your URLs like that. So anyway, don't worry, Kelly. I'll put it in the information that people can just click it and they can find your information. So
thank you. I
have that
appreciate
information for you. So you guys, this is Kelly Armstrong. We're signing off. Thank you so much for watching Inspire Conversations with Kim Evans. And thank you so much, Kelly, for being my guest again on my podcast show. Much success to you.
And thank you, Coach.
All right, you
Appreciate
guys have
it.
a good evening.